Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to work on the Abundance pin or brooch, and this pin is using some of the beads from my most recent collaboration with Eureka Crystal Beads back in September called Autumn in New York. And I think that this, transcends autumn. I think you can really wear this any time of the year. In fact, I'll show you a picture of how I'm going to wear it coming up this spring. So anyway, here's the brooch. Here's with the drop and without. I love it with the drop. And here are the Abundance bracelet and earrings. And here's the Falling Leaves bracelet from the collection. So I will link these in the description box below the video, as well as a link to the collection, which is still available. And they have it in bundles and such. So take a look and see what you think. All right, so let me give you a quick look at a picture that I took. Hold on. There we go. So this is how I'm going to wear it. So this is my other velvet coat. You know, I always wear the blue one. So this is the green one, and I love this one for spring. And look how pretty that looks on the velvet. I just love it. All right, so I'm going to clear everything off. We'll get a materials list going, and we'll get started. Okay, let's get a materials list going. So I need some 11-0 seed beads. Now everything that I used on this brooch, except for, of course, the bead embroidery parts, all the beads are in that collection. So if you have that collection, the Autumn in New York, you'll have all the beads to make this. You just have to add the extra to make it a brooch. So 11-0 seed beads. I've got an 8-0. I've got an 11-0. This is a Miyuki. I have an 11-0 Toho, and it's important, just for the look of it, if you have the Toho and the Miyuki, because the Toho is a much bigger and differently shaped 11-0 as far as I'm concerned. Okay, 15-0 seed bead Miyuki. I've got some super duos. I've got a Paisley duo, 2 of the bicones in the collection, or any two 4mm bicones. We've got some 3mm pearls, 4mm pearls. Got a chaton. And the one in the collection, I believe, is amethyst, but I ran out. So I have this amethyst opal one that was in my stash, which is really pretty. We've got the drop. This is I think a 9x6mm drop. And I have a pin back here. The quarter is for actually making a little template that, we won't follow completely, but it'll just give you kind of an idea of where, placement and such. Okay, so that's what you need for the beading. What you'll need for the pin is you'll need some bead backing or lacy stiff stuff, any kind of bead backing. I like using black. On this one I used this purpley color, but I think black would really be nice, because you'll see a little bit of the backing, and barely any, but black I think is really nice. Here's a piece of ultra suede. I love this purple ultra suede. On this one I put gray so you could see what I was doing, but I love the deep purple ultra suede. We've got some E6000 scissor. We've got some Elmer's glue. Let's see, what else do we need? I sometimes, to hold my bead backing down, use clothespins, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. I think that's about it. Everything is going to be listed in, size 10 beading needle right there. So everything is be listed in the description box below the video, because if I forget something or I add something, coupon codes, anything that I have that will be helpful, as well as links to all the beads if you need them, will be in the description box below the video. Okay, let's get started. So thread your needle with about 4 feet of thread, put on a stop bead in the middle. We'll use both threads. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead, a super duo and an 11-0. I did that 4 times. Sew those into a circle by sewing up through the first bead after my stop bead, and then I'm just going to go all the way around again just to reinforce. This is what it looks like, and then just go around and reinforce, come out the same place you started. That's what I have so far. So I'm exiting the bottom. I've reinforced, exiting the bottom hole of a super duo. I'm just going to sew through the top hole of that same super duo. Okay, so I'm exiting the top hole of this super duo. I picked up a Paisley duo, the Toho 11-0, and a Paisley duo. So notice how I've picked them up. And I'm just going to sew through the top hole, my tail thread, of the next super duo. So when I pull, put those into place, which sometimes they fight you. There we go. This is what it looks like. Next up, we're going to pick up a super duo, the 11-0 Toho, and a super duo. Exiting the top hole of this super duo, I'm going to sew the top hole of the next super duo. Like that. And then I'm just going to repeat what I just did 2 more times. So Paisley duo, 11-0 Toho, and I'll show you in a second, and a paisley duo, like that. Sew through the next top hole of the next super duo, like that, and then super duo, 11-0 Toho, and a super duo, and I'm going to sew through the top hole of the next super duo, the bottom hole of the next paisley duo. So this is what I have so far. Okay, so we are exiting the bottom hole of this paisley duo. I just want to secure this, you know, the unit a little bit. So I'm going to go through the 11-0, the next paisley duo, the bottom hole of the next super duo. I'm just going to move my thread around a little bit. Through the 11-0 Toho and the super duo, through this super duo, top hole of the super duo, bottom hole of the paisley duo, and the top hole of this paisley duo. Okay, this is where I am. I have my thread coming out of the top hole of the paisley duo. So before you do anything else, take off your stop bead and thread your tail thread, because we're going to use that. And I want to move it to position so it's not difficult to get to it later. All right, so we're going to, I'm exiting the bottom hole of a super duo here. You'll be exiting one of these beads here, most likely the super duo. So I just want you to sew through the next 11-0 bottom hole of the next super duo, you know, in the direction I'm going. Top hole of this super duo and bottom hole, the next one, and that 11-0 in between the super duos. See where my needle's going? So however you get there, I felt that was the easiest way to get there. So you want your thread to be exiting this 11-0 in between the super duos, because we're going to use this one, this one, this one, and this one when we do our bezel. Okay, so that's set up to go, so you could just leave that thread and we'll get back to it. So here we are, we're exiting the top hole of this paisley duo. Now just make sure your tail thread is on the top here, because this is where we're going to put the bezel, but we're not going to do it yet. So just, you know, make sure you don't lose this thread. Okay, so we're going to pick up a 3mm pearl. I'm going to sew through the next super duo. I'm going to pick up a 4mm pearl. Come on, you. There you go. And I'm going to sew through the next super duo. I'm going to pick up 3mm pearl. And I'm going to sew through the next paisley duo. And then I'm going to pick up sorry, lost track for a second. I'm going to pick up a paisley duo. I'm going to go this way. So here, I'll show it to you. Let me just put it down on my thread. I'll show you how it's going. So see how it's on like so, like that. And then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 Toho and another paisley duo. And let me show you what direction I'm going in, like this. Okay. This is what I put on, just like that, and then I'm going to sew through the top hole of the next paisley duo. So when I pull it together, it's going to give me that. Then we're just going to repeat what we did. So 11-0, 3mm pearl, 4mm pearl, and a 3mm pearl, like that. And you're going to do that same sequence right here. Here's my sequence, the paisley duo, Toho 11-0 paisley duo, just sewing through this one. All right, this is what we want. Okay, so this is what I have so far. My thread that I was using to put these outer beads on, I've sewn in. I've got my piece here. It's nice and flexible, is what you want, which is what you want. And I have my bezel thread coming out of this Toho 11-0 in between the paisley duos. You're just going to ignore this. Make sure it stays on top and don't get it, tangled or anything. You'll just, keep an eye on it. It'll be fine. So now we're going to look at the bead. So here's my piece. I have my thread for the bezel coming out of this little Toho 11-0 here. And I would use black bead backing here because I think it looks the best because you will see a little bit through it. It kind of makes the piece pop. But I'm going to use this purple so you can kind of see where my thread is going. So I made a little template here. So I took a quarter and I just drew around the quarter. So put your quarter down there. So if let's say this is about 23 or 24 millimeters, I think a quarter. So anything circular that is around that size. When I put this on here, this is where we're going to cut. So we have space to put some beads in there. And this will be our guide for cutting later. I mean, it's not going to be, perfectly there, but it's a guide. And then I just kind of did a little bit of freehand. I used a ruler actually here to kind of make myself a little guide around here. So it's a little bit bigger than the beads here. Let me measure this, because if you're using the exact same beads, you'll be the same. So it's about 5/8 of an inch. Let me just make sure I'm seeing this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe just a teeny bit more. So this is how, when I put it on, that's kind of how it's going to look. Like I said, it's more or less a guide, all right, for cutting later. So do your little template here and then come back and we will sew this unit down to the bead backing. Now we're going to tack down this unit. I'm not going to glue this. We're going to just tack it down all the way around. So I'm just going to place my unit right there. And these are as I said, my cutting guides. So you kind of want to place it sort of evenly around. And I've threaded my needle with about 3 feet of thread, and I did a little knot at the end, like about 6 inches from the end. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to sew up between this super duo and this pearl. Now this is just sort of a random spot that I picked. So this is what it looks like. Make sure you're right there. And then I'm going to sew through the pearl. So the first one you put on here is pretty important because you want to keep it nice and straight. Sew through the pearl. And then down through the backing to the back again. Just like that. So when I pull it out, you see that? That's how I'm going to tack everything down, just like that. Okay, so I'm exiting the back of my bead backing, and on the side of the pearl here, I'm going to come back up. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to go through the same hole, obviously. I'm just going to move over a little bit, so I'm going to come up right by the hole of the super duo, and then I'm going to go through the super duo. Like that. Oops. There we go. And then I'm going to go down through the bead backing again. Like that. Then I'm going to come up through next to the bottom hole of the super duo. So right there. I'm going to come through the super duo all the while I'm holding it. Like that. So I've come through the hole of the super duo. I'm going to go down the bead backing again, up through the space between the pearl and the super duo, and through the super duo again. So I've tacked my second bead down now. Get through there. There we go. So now I have the pearl tacked down and the super duo. Okay, so I've tacked on that 4mm pearl in the super duo. Now I'm exiting this top hole of the super duo. I'm just going to go down my bead backing again in front of that little 3mm pearl. Like that. And then back up, like so. And then I'm going to sew through the 3mm pearl, just like that. And then down on the other side of the 3mm pearl. So I'm just going up, down, up, down, up, down until I have everybody tacked on. So now I've gotten the 3mm pearl done. I'm going to come up again through the backing in front of that paisley duo. And then you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to go through the top hole, come up, go around, and then until you get to the next one. And you know, you're just going to keep tacking these down all the way around until you have all of them tacked down. Now, I'm not worried about the interior ones right here. This is fine. Just to keep going in this fashion. Make sure you get all of the paisley duos tacked down. You can kind of go through your Toho 11-Os as well as you're tacking down. Just find a good route to get through. You can be looking at the back to see how it's doing, but I think that'll get you through. So just keep tacking everything around until you get it all tacked down and come back and we'll continue. So I've come all the way around, and my last place I sewed was the original pearl right here. So I came up through here, came to the pearl, and went down through my backing, and here's my thread. So I'll just show you what it kind of looks like. So here's my tacking. I think it's fine. It's not moving anywhere. I think I did, you know, just to be really honest with you, I did cheat the last couple of super duos. I didn't do the bottom of this one, but I think, I don't know if it matters. So anyway, here we go. So this is what it looks like. I came through the back. I'm just going to grab a thread right here that's close by, and I'm going to make a little half hitch knot. And I don't know if this is sort of traditional, you know, bead embroidery that anybody does this, but nothing I'm doing right here is like traditional. Little knot, and then I'm just going to pop right through my bead backing. I'm going to come up through, not sure where, let's say I come up. I'm just going to come up through here, like other side of the super duo, and then maybe just go through, see if you can get through this pearl like that. And I mean, you can go down and up again, another bead, and then just clip this thread off, and you're all secure. And we're ready to do some beading around this little unit. Okay, here's our piece. So I got ahead of myself in my last clip. We want to actually do the bezel first before we start beading around it. So here's my little stone. So you'll be exiting the Toho 11-O. So I'm going to work with these. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to pick up 5 Miyuki 11-Os. I'm exiting this guy. I'm just going to sew over to the next one. Like that. I'm going to do it again. 5 of the Miyuki 11-Os. Exiting here. I'm going to sew through this one. Okay, I'm going to do that 2 more times. Sewing through this one and this one. Putting on my last 5 through this original one we came out of. And you might have to sort of bend your piece a little bit, and my needle bent a little bit, but that's okay just to get it. So just like sort of bend it over this way. And that's what it looks like. I'm going to continue on. So exiting here through the first 5 I put on. Like that. And I'm going to pick up a Toho 11-O. Exiting this group of 5. I'm going to sew through the next group of 5. Pick up a Toho 11-O, sewing through the next group of 5. Just do that 2 more times. Sewing through, putting on that Toho, sewing through the next group of 5, through the next Toho, and up the first 3 11-Os of that next group of 5. So that's where you'll be exiting, right there. I'm exiting bead number 3 of a group of 5. I'm going to pick up 4 of my 15-Os. I just pop my stone in, I'll hold it with my thumb. And I'm going to sew through the bead 3 of the next group of 5. Do that again, 4 15-Os. Exiting bead 3 on this group of 5, going to sew through bead 3 of this group of 5. And I'm going to do that 2 more times. Putting on my last group of 4, I'm going to come through my original bead 3 that my thread was exiting, just to complete the bezel. And you want to make sure that your stone is sitting straight in here. And I'm using a Preciosa stone here, and it's it's got a nice long point, so we're gonna have to make sure that you come through all the beads again. You have to do this anyway to reinforce everything and get that bezel to capture this big stone. Some stones aren't as deep, so I think they will, no matter how deep it is. I think, you know, if it's say an 8mm chaton, it should fit. Just make sure you really reinforce all the way around until it feels, you know, nice and snug. And just keep doing that. Reinforce, don't cut off your thread, and then we'll continue. Just a note here. So I reinforced everything all the way around. I went through the 15-0s and the corner 11-0s. So if you want to, you can reinforce one more time and just go through the 15-0s, skipping the 11-0, and that will bring it into more of more angles here rather than being some more rounded. And I think that's what I did on the bracelet as well. So you could do that. So come around, you know, just skip the 11-0s if you want, and you'll be exiting these a group of 4 15-0s here. I just want you to sew through the next 11-0, just like that. You have you know, reinforced twice, you know, skipping the 11-0s, or you just, you know, did everything, you're going to be exiting one of the 11-0s, one of these corner 11-0s. So see that? Exiting 11-0. I'm going to sew down, so here I'm going to kind of put it to the side a little bit. I'm going to sew down these 2 11-0s right here. It's going to do a little embellishing on the side, right before the toho. There we go. Like that. Then I'm going to pick up a toho 11-0, a 15-0, and a toho 11-0. So exiting this 11-0 here, I'm going to skip that toho 11-0, and I'm going to sew up through these 2 11-0s and the one right in the third one right there. So that's the corner one, and that's going to put on that little embellishment right there. And then I'm just going to advance down the next 2 11-0s like that, and I'm going to do the exact same thing here, so we'll do that all the way around. It's done, and I put on all the embellishments on the sides, and you're just going to sew that thread in, and then we're going to work on this part right here. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to put this on, we're going to do the same thing here, and then we'll fill all this in with 11-0s. So that'll kind of be our sequence that we're going to do here. Okay, so I'm going to start on the side of this 3mm pearl. So I'm going to just, you know, thread my needle, you know, you put in your knot, and I'm going to come through very close to that pearl, in between the paisley duo and the pearl, coming back, coming up, like that. And I'm going to pick up 2 of my toho 11-0s. I'm going to kind of make sure I get similar sizes, so like that. So we're going to do back stitch. I'm going to drop those down like that. I'm going to pull them back, my thumb. I want them to curve around here, and I'm going to put my needle down right there, you know, right at where this bead is, the edge of this bead, but I want you to be close to the pearl so we can make it surround the pearl. You know, make it kind of, it's going to go around rather than straight. Okay, so those 2 are on. I put that, came through, go back like so. So you're coming out of here, and you're going to go forward 2, the 2 you put on, like that. So that's what that looks like. Now you're going to pick up another toho 11-0. Going to drop it down like that. I'm going to pull it this way so it curves around that pearl, and then I'm just going to pop my needle right here, right where that pearl is, and you know, the pearl and the bead that I'm putting on, and I'm going to pull that down like that, and then I'm going to come back 3. So I'm going to go all the way back to this beginning again here, and I'm going to sew through all 3 of these beads like that. And this is what it looks like. So I've surrounded that little pearl. Now before I get to the next one, we'll set up. I'm coming out of the bead backing here. I'm just going to go down the bead backing again, you know, not the same hole, of course, like that. I wanted that to be nice and tight and separate from the next group, and then I'm going to come back up again right here where that 4mm pearl is. So like that. So this is what I have so far. Let's do the 8/0s. So I'm sure you've noticed by now that, you know, I'm working on two separate pieces. So some, you know, one of them doesn't have the pencil around the edges, and it has it here, but it doesn't have it here. But, you know, we're doing the same thing. I just have two pieces to play with. All right, so I'm going to pick up 2 of my 8/0s, and again, I'm going to make sure that the size is good, you know, that they're pretty even. I'm going to drop those down. So you were coming out, you know, this little corner here, like right by the 4mm pearl. So I'm going to drop those down, and I'm going to sew down in front of that second bead, like that, to put those on. I'm going to go back here again, come through my backing, and then forward 2. So I have the first 2 8/0s on. So I'm going to pick up 2 8/0s, and I'm going to drop those down, and I'm going to curve those around my pearl, like that. And then I'm going to sew down through my bead backing, like so. Then I'm going to go back 3 and come up my backing, like that. And then I'm going to go forward 3. That's what it looks like. And then just like I did with these little 11/0s, before I go on, I'm going to come down my backing again and up. It's just going to sort of lock those into place. Then I'm going to come up right next to that little 3mm pearl, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did here. And then I'm just going to repeat it for the other side, and then you're going to cut off those threads, and then we'll add a new thread to do all our 11/0s around here. So far we did both sides. I've ended my thread that I used to make this embellishment here, and now I put on a new thread, and I'm coming out right at the top of this paisley duo right here, you know, right in the corner right here, so I can add some more beads on it. I'll give you a look at what we're going for. So this is the finished piece before making it into the brooch, and we're just going to start adding 11/0s all the way around. You'll be stopping and starting in places because the bead, if you notice, the bead direction changes, so, you know, that'll just be something you'll play with. I'll get you started, and then I'll just send you off on your own to finish. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to pick up 2 of my 11/0s. I'm just going to do same back stitch, drop them down like that. My needle down in front of that bead. Come through my bead backing like that. Then I'm going to come back up, go back the 2, and come back my bead backing like right there. And then I'm going to move forward 2. Just like that. Then I'm going to pick up 1 more. I'm going to drop it down, and I'm going to place it right in there. See, so it curves around that the top of that paisley duo. And I'm just going to put my needle through, just like we've been doing. Then I'm going to come back all 3. And up the bead backing. There we go. Like that. I'm going to come through. And now I have those 3 beads on. Okay, this is where I am so far. I've come through these 3. Now I'm going to go down. So I'm sort of going to end this here, but I'm not cutting the thread off or anything. So I'm just going to come down through the bead backing. And then I'm going to come up right sort of at the top of that last bead, right next to the paisley duo. My about there. And then I'm just going to go this way. So I'll get you started. Picking up 2. I'm going to drop those down. Push them back a little bit. Put my needle down in front. Like that. Then I'm going to go back to the 2 and then forward 2. Like that. Then I'm going to pick up 2. Like that. Down. And then back 3. And then forward 3. And you're just going to continue that all the way around. Again, so here we are. So I'm coming around here. Okay, so to this point, and at that point, see how I went all the way in there? And then I came up over here to continue this way. Okay, so make them go all the way into the corner here, and then go down and come up over here. Add your beads here, and stop 1 bead before the end here, because I want you to go from this direction to this direction. I'll do that with you, but just stop 1 bead before the end here, and then we'll continue this way. Okay, so I've come all the way around, and I've left space here so I go from here to here, so that way it will match this side. So I've just put all my beads around. I ended up putting just 1 bead here, you know, and then I came back 3 and up, and then forward 3, and then, so I'm exiting here. I'm just going to go down my bead backing, and then I'm going to come up on the side of that right here in front of that Toho 11-0, and I'm going to add 3 of the Miyukis here, so it'll look just like this. You have 3 here, and you'll have 3 here, and then you'll end off this thread, and then you do the exact same thing on that end. Okay, so everything is done. I have all my beads on. I'm very happy with how it looks, but I'm just checking around to see if there's anything I want to add, and I decided to put a bicone right there, so right in this space, so right here. So I've just threaded my needle with a little bit of thread, you know, foot, and I put on, you know, did a knot, came through my bead backing, through sort of the middle of this space right here. I'm going to pick up my 4mm bicone and a 15-0, so I'm using the green one here. It's hard to see it on camera, but it really shows up in person. So I've dropped those down. Then I'm just going to skip the 15-0 and sew directly through the bicone and then back through the backing like that. And that's going to put that bicone right there. So here with the 2 of them on, so you've got a little dimension going there as well as some really pretty color. So I'm just going to sew these threads in, you know, sew around a little bit, sew the threads in, and then come back and we'll continue. Okay, let's continue. So next up, we're going to put the pin back on the ultra suede, and then we'll cut out our bead embroidery and we'll attach the 2. So just get the pin back on now. So I've just taken a small piece of ultra suede and I put my pin back on, and notice I made my lines here, and I just laid it on like that, and then I just took a pencil and I drew a little line about the length of this on this side, and then just hold it with your finger, do it on the other side. The line is about a little over 1/8 of an inch long. So this, I have one here, one here. All I did here is fold it over, and then I took my scissor, so I folded it over and sort of in half, and then I just snipped here and here just to open it up. And this is what I have. What you're going to do is you're going to pop your pin back through. So I'm going to start with this one. Just see how we're doing. Make sure you get that little piece in too. So you can kind of just pop it through like that. Then pop this side through like that. This is what it looks like when I turn it on this side. It fits just fine. If it's, you know, if your fit isn't good, if it's bunching up a little bit, you can always, you know, cut it a little bit further in. But this is about how it should look. So when I close this, just to give you a look, let's see what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So you have that little piece on this side. This is the outside. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to attach to this once we've cut this guy out. All right, so get that done. Come back and we'll continue. Okay, so our bead embroidery piece is all done. I've sewn all my threads in. That's what it looks like on the back. It's the front. Now what we're going to do is so carefully cut all the way around as close to the beads as possible without cutting any of our threads. So just be really careful. What you'll be doing is you just kind of come in and you'll, as you go, you're going to look and see how close you are. So see, I'm not close at all there. And you're just going to get as close as possible. And all the while, you'll just be kind of looking to see where you're cutting. Okay, getting close there, so I'm going to be very careful around here. And you're just going to do that super carefully all the way around. It's going to take you a little while to do it, but really it's worth it because you want to make sure all your beads stay on. So just start cutting it out as close to the beads as possible and finish that up, and then come back and we'll continue. Okay, so before we put this together, I've taken a little piece of stiff cardboard paper, like the back part of a spiral notebook. You know, it's got a little stiffness to it. And I've cut it similar shape as my bead embroidery piece. Doesn't have to fit to the edges or anything. I just want to stiffen up the brooch a little bit before I put this on. So I'm just going to, so I've cut it out, whoops, I've cut it out sort of like that. Like I said, it doesn't, this is just like a little bit of filling, right? And I'm just going to glue this on with, you can just use Elmer's glue here. You can use E6000. I'm just going to use Elmer's, and I'm just going to glue this on and let it dry, and then we will put the backing, the ultra suede on. So I've glued that little piece of cardboard on, and I just want it to dry. So I just take a clothespin and just put it on each edge. You don't want to dent the paper. You want to make sure they're not super tight, or just, you know, just lay it down and just give it a little time to dry, and then we'll continue. Okay, so I've got my piece of cardboard glued on there. Now we're just going to glue the pin, the brooch to the pin back like that. So you just want to center it. You know, you just have to eyeball it to make sure it's sort of straight, so your pin goes on straight. I'm going to use E6000. I'm not going to do it on camera because I make such a mess of everything when I try to film gluing. So I'm just going to put glue all the way around. You can put a little bit of glue under here if you like, and then some glue here. And all you're going to do is just, you know, attach. And you want to make sure that it's nice and glued down right to the edge. You don't want to come over the edge, but just do it right to the edge. And then you're just going to make sure it's nice and, you know, it's adhered nicely. You can try a clothespin. Just be careful that you don't push, you know, make a dent in the ultra suede if you're using a clothespin. But I think you could just get it on just like that. And you're going to let that dry, and then we're going to cut it out, and we'll bead around the edge, and we'll be done. Okay, just a note. So if once you put it on, if you find you've missed some spots, I took a little pin and I just dipped it in the E6000, and wherever I didn't really miss here, let's say here, so wherever I might have missed, I just took a little bit and I just put it right there. You know, make sure it's down nice and snug. And there you go. So I'm just going to let it dry from this point on, and then we'll start cutting around the edge. So my ultra suede is dried. So it looks like. And now all you want to do is cut around the edge like you did with the bead backing. So you're just going to bring your scissor in, and you're just going to just cut up against that bead backing, so that when we see the bead backing here and the ultra suede right here, mine's coming apart a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to connect these two with the beads all the way around the edge. So, you know, cut very carefully all the way around, and then when you're done, we will put on that edging, and then we'll have a beautiful brooch. This is where we're going to finish the end. We're just going to put an edge all the way around. Isn't that pretty? So just pretend that's not there. And I'm gonna start, I just do it on this side so you can see, I just want you to see where we're going there. So this is what the back looks like. So you're gonna thread your needle with a couple of feet of thread, put on a stop bead, and leave enough of a tail to sew in. So do it using a little stop bead here. So I'm gonna pick up an 11-0. So I'm gonna do all 11-0s around the edge, and I'm just gonna come through the ultra suede from the back and the bead backing. Oops. Just make sure you grab a bit of each like that. My backing's sticking up a little bit, but that's okay. So see that? You're just going to pull through like that. And then there's my stop bead over there. You're just going to sew back up through that bead you just put on. So the first one's always a little annoying, but just like that. See what happens when I pull that down? It adds a bead right there. I'm going to continue doing this and adding beads in this manner. So picking up an 11-0, and you want to get about a bead's width away from this bead so it sits nicely. So around, let's say there. So make sure you're getting through the ultra suede and the bead backing. Pop that guy down, and then you're going to go up. Just get my needle in there, like so. And then when I give that a pull, this is what it looks like so far. So I have 2 beads on. And I'll do one more, and then I'll let you go off on your own. So picking up an 11-0, just sort of moving over about a bead's width, sewing through the ultra suede and the backing. And now that gets easier once you get a few beads on, and then back up again. And this is what it looks like. So you're just going to continue doing that all the way around, and then we'll join the 2 ends together. So I've come down to the end. I'm going to attach these 2 beads. So I'm going to put one more bead on. So you want to make sure you have enough space to put 1 bead in here. That looks big. You can sort of adjust the spacing if you like, but you'll be surprised how only 1 bead is going to fit here when I attach. So I'm just going to put this bead on. So I'm just coming through my ultra suede and my backing. And up through that bead. So see, now I have that bead on, and do you see how close it is now? So all I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to attach it to this bead. So that's that first bead I put on, like that. And I'm going to go back up this guy that I just put on. And then when I give it a little pull, that should attach just like so. And then I'm just going to go down this next bead. I'm going to sort of turn it on the back. I'm going to go down the next bead, so here I'm exiting here, and through the backing, through the ultra suede here, just up towards the edge there, like that. And I just lost my thread, but you can pop up right through your ultra suede in the backing. Let's see if I can get through there, like that. So I lost my thread, but come through and then just clip that thread off. And here you go. Here's your brooch. So get that done, come back, and we'll finish it. So I thought of this at the last minute, so not a problem putting it on now. I just did these 11-0s, the bicones, and the drop here. So the way I did this, well, actually I'm pretty tight in there. I just came up through the backing. So I just went on the back. The brooch is already finished. I just came through just the backing, not the beads. And I came out sort of right in front of this Toho 11-0. So you're just using the back, you're going through the ultra suede and the backing. So my thread came out here. I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Miyuki 11-0s, a Toho 11-0, 4mm bicone, Toho 11-0, the drop, 3 11-0s. I skipped the 3 Miyuki 11-0s, went back up all the beads and this one, and then I added 5 more Miyukis, and I went down the bead backing on this side. So sort of right in front here. Now what you want to do here is you want to make sure that it's even. So you may have to take out a bead, you may have to add a bead, you may have to change where you place it, because you know, you want it to hang nice and straight like that. So you have a lot of leeway here where you can place it. All right, so if you want to add the drop, I really like it. You can do that. All right, so here's our brooch. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have fun making this. Really, really a simple bead embroidery piece, not a whole, whole lot of stuff going on. So really pretty easy. So thank you so much for being here with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.